Hey, welcome to NDI Animations. Today, we're fixing one of the most common problems in 3D. Renders that look, okay, not bad, but not cinematic either. Look at this image. The lighting is there. The model is clean. But something's off, right? It doesn't feel like it came out of a movie. Now look at this one. Same scene, same model, same geometry. But this one actually feels like it could be a frame from an animated film. So what changed? 5 small details, 5 mistakes that almost every Blender artist makes, including me, when I first started. In this video, I'll walk you through each one and show you the exact fix you can apply today. Let's get into it. Mistake number 1. Textures that are too perfect, or just physically wrong. In real life, nothing is perfectly clean. A wall has tiny bumps and cracks, metal has scratches, glass has fingerprints. Things age, they wear down, they have history. But in a lot of 3D renders, everything looks like it just came out of a factory. And that's exactly what breaks the illusion. Now, one important thing before we get into shaders, your 3D assets matter a lot. If the base model is low quality, no shader is going to save it. So always choose your models carefully. They should reflect the level of quality you're going for. Look at this candle material. Even though this asset came from a well-known site, the result just isn't convincing. The wax looks plastic. It doesn't feel like it has any physical weight to it. Now look at this. I rebuilt the subsurface scattering shader from scratch, and the difference is immediate. Light actually penetrates the wax, scatters inside and comes back out, just like real candle wax does. Subsurface scattering is one of those things that separates a good render from a great one. Skin, wax, marble, leaves. Anything that's slightly translucent needs it. If you're not using SSS on organic materials, you're leaving realism on the table. The fix here isn't complicated. It's just about understanding what your material should actually do physically, and then building a shader that does that. Mistake number 2. Flat, lifeless lighting. This is probably the most common mistake I see. People add a light or two, point them at the subject, and call it done. Everything looks the same brightness. There's no contrast, no atmosphere, and your objects have no visual separation from the background. Here's how I think about lighting. And I'm giving you 3 simple principles that will change how you approach every scene. Tip 1. Give your lighting a story. Every light in your scene should make sense. Ask yourself, where is this light coming from? What's the real-world source? In this scene, I'm imagining light coming through a doorway from another room. So I start with a low-intensity HDRI environment. This acts as my fill light. It gives me complex, realistic reflections across the glass right away. Then I add a practical light source to push those reflections even further. This is how cinematic lighting works. Every light has a motivation, a reason to exist in the frame. Tip 2. Light should face the camera, not follow it. This is a huge one. If your key light is pointing in the same direction as your camera, everything looks flat and washed out. Instead, you want your lights to come from the sides or in front of the camera. This creates that kind of cinematic contrast. I'm adding some cool blue lights here to simulate a bit of ambient skylight. It adds a natural look. I also soften them with a bit of fall-off to keep things looking clean and controlled. Think of these as your key lights. Tip 3. Play with light and shadow contrast. Now I'm asking myself, what if there was a window over here letting in some sunlight? Those beautiful God rays coming through a gap in the curtains or leaves outside. I place 2 high-intensity spotlights and put a noise texture in their material to simulate leaves and the randomness of an outdoor environment. This instantly adds drama and depth to the image. And of course, don't forget the candle light itself. That warm, flickering glow is what sells the whole atmosphere. Look at that difference. Same scene, completely different feeling, and we're not even done yet. Mistake number 3. Skipping volumetrics entirely. Volumetric effects are one of those things that immediately make a render feel more real. They break up that synthetic look and they add physical depth to the scene, separating the foreground from the background in a way that pure geometry just can't. We're adding two things here. Step 1. Atmospheric fog. I create a simple cube and scale it to cover the whole scene. Then I add a principled volume shader to it. Just a few simple parameters and you're done. Now those rays of light become visible in the air. You can actually see where the light is traveling through the scene. This single effect adds so much depth. The objects in the background naturally feel further away. The light sources feel physically present. Step 2. Floating dust particles. This one's small, but it's powerful. Tiny particles of dust floating through the air, barely visible. But when you combine them with strong directional light and depth of field, they add an incredible layer of realism. I'm using an add-on here. The free version is more than enough for this. Drop it into the scene, set up your render settings, and adjust the parameters to fit your scene. There's no one right answer here. Play with the parameters until it feels right. These two effects together create the kind of atmosphere you see in feature films. Let's keep going. Mistake number 4. No lens effects. Real cameras are not perfect, and that imperfection is what makes footage feel cinematic. When everything in your render is perfectly sharp and uniformly bright, it looks like a computer made it, because it did. Adding lens effects fixes that. Depth of field. I drop an empty into the scene at the focal point, where I want the sharpest area to be. Select your camera, go into the object data properties and enable depth of field, and set the empty as the focus object. Then I dial in the f-stop and ratio. For this scene, I'm going subtle. I don't want a super blurry background. I just want that slight softness that tells your brain this is a real optical lens. Lens flares. A real camera lens isn't optically perfect. When a bright light source hits it at the right angle, you get halos, streaks, and those iconic circular reflections you see in movies. That's a lens flare. I'm bringing in a flare plane, basically a flat mesh with a flare texture on it, and placing it over the sunlight coming through the window and over the candle flame. This one element alone instantly makes your render feel like it was shot with a real camera. Everything we're doing here is about breaking that CGI look. The more physical imperfections you add, the more believable the image becomes. Weird but true. Mistake number 5. Skipping post-production. This is the step most people skip, and it's the step that takes a good render and turns it into something that actually looks finished. Post-production isn't optional. It's the final layer of storytelling. You can do some of this inside Blender's compositor, but I'm going to use DaVinci Resolve for this step. It's completely free, and honestly, it's the best color grading tool available at any price. Here are the 5 steps I run through for every shot. 1. Color balance. Start by balancing each color channel. This isn't about making a look yet. It's just making sure nothing is off. No weird color casts, no channels clipping incorrectly. 2. Contrast. Adjust your overall contrast and make sure you're not losing detail in the highlights or the shadows. I like to add a contrast node at this stage so I'm not having to go back and readjust it later. 3. The look. This is where you make the actual creative decision. Warm and golden, cool and moody, desaturated and cinematic. This is your artistic direction, so own it. 4. Bloom. This halo effect around bright light sources is essential for realism. It's what makes a candle flame look like an actual flame, not just a bright polygon. Don't skip this. 5. Vignette. A subtle darkening around the edges of the frame naturally guides the viewer's eye to the center of the image. It's a classic filmmaking technique, and it works every time. The difference between the raw render and the graded result is massive, and most of these adjustments take less than 5 minutes once you know what you're doing. And that's it. 5 mistakes and 5 fixes that take your renders from pretty good to actually cinematic. None of it requires a powerful computer or expensive software. It just requires knowing what to look for. If this video helped you, drop a comment, hit the like button, and subscribe for more 3D tips. I'll leave you with the final render and see you in the next one.